Colleagues, the recording is on. So we'll formally start with this briefing session. We are here for a tender for the investor vendor to conduct VAT review on the income and expense and to determine the VAT payable or receivable for the investor vendor for a period of 3 years. Tender number
There's two that say VAT error.
Colleagues, if you please mute your mics, please mute your mics. Tender number FIN/02/2022. Tender to conduct VAT review on the income and expense and to determine the VAT payable or receivable for the investor vendor for a period of 3 years. Colleagues, if you are not here for this session, of course, I can't ask you to leave. But just note that we are here for this briefing session, which is non-compulsory. Molalo, if you could please mute your mic, please. Thank you, sir. Colleagues, my name is Tsapo Mampuru.
Yeah, no. I don't know.
Okay. Colleagues, my name is Tsapo Mampuru. I am a contracts manager here at Perco SA, and I will be facilitating this process on behalf of the university vendor. I will be joined by my other colleagues from the university as well. I'm just not seeing them on the side chat, but I'm sure they will join us shortly. And then we can proceed accordingly. I have started to share the bid document, which is on screen now. If I can just get confirmation that indeed the document can be seen. Just thank you, Sanzeni. I'll take that the document can be seen. Colleagues, the document is still available even after this session. It will be available until the closing date and time. You are able to obviously purchase that document payable online using the Percocet website, colleagues. So you can still buy this document. I'll go through the bid document, but I won't go through each page of the bid document, colleagues. I'll obviously pick on certain key areas, but the onus is on you to obviously just go and, familiarize yourself with the document and obviously ask any questions that may come up even post this session, colleagues. I will start on page 3 and I'll read the first part word for word so that we're clear in terms of why we are here today. Point number 1, part 1, tender notification. The investor vendor, together with Perco SA, invite interested service providers to submit proposals for the facilitation of a VAT review on the income and expense of the university and to determine the VAT payable or receivable in this regard. This contract will be for a period of 3 financial years, reviewed on an annual basis based on performance for the investor vendor, which is situated in Thohoyandou, Limpopo province. It must be noted that should there be any other requirements or niche services which fall outside of this scope of this tender, the investor reserves the right to procure those services by means of a separate process if found effective at the discretion of the universities. Bidders are requested to complete the information in accordance with the general conditions of the offer and to complete these documents in full, place them in a new envelope, seal mark them with proposed number, deposit in the tender box as provided in the document. So this is just standard wording that is used in the bid document. But please note that the submission is online using the Percocet portal. You'll see that there is a link just below the paragraph that I've just read with a link to submit the tender. The submission is online. It's not physical, colleagues, at the investor vendor. It's an online submission using the Perco SA portal. Please note that, colleagues, it's an online submission. Don't attempt to submit this tender either at the investor vendor or at the Perco office. There's no physical submission. Everything is online. The closing date and time is the 2nd of August 2022 at 23:59. Colleagues, no late submissions will be allowed. Again, just to add again, in the case where, colleagues, you don't submit by the closing date and time, the link will no longer be able to be used. So this link will only be open until the 2nd of August 2022 at 23:59. So note that obviously after that, the link will not be able to. Colleagues, please mute your mics. Please mute your mics if you're joining the session now. Please mute your mics. Colleagues, then again, note that you are able to go and enter that submission page even after the session. So I do plead with you to please, after the session, go into that portal and just see how it's structured. see in terms of the type of documentation we want, in terms of the format that we want, so that at least when you're ready to submit, you are able to at least know how the website is structured or the submission portal is structured. It is an interactive portal. You're able to go back in and out up until the 2nd of August, 2359. So if there are documents that you've got ready now, you can already start the submission process and then go back to it later to complete the submission. But the key thing for me is for you to be able to make sure that you can use this link. Do not wait for the last minute. Make sure that you understand how the link, how the process is structured and the submission process going forward, colleagues. I do plead with you that. Then we are currently in a non-compulsory information session, colleagues. Non-compulsory meaning that even bidders who did not attend the session will be permitted to submit proposals. So it's a non-compulsory information session taking place now via Microsoft Teams on the 19th of July 2022 from 10 to 11. All inquiries, colleagues, must be directed to the Purchaser office via myself, Tsepo Mampuru. My email address is there, tepo.mampuru@percase.co.za, colleagues, and then copying also UNIVEN tenders at univen.ac.za. Colleagues, no other correspondence must be sent to anybody else regarding this tender. All processes must follow using the email addresses that we've included in this bid submission. Of course, if you still got any tender documentation related inquiries in terms of that you still want to purchase the bid document and you are struggling, the advert is clear to please contact Ms. Pose Samakono. She is in the session as well, but also works under our team here at Pogo SA. She'll be able to assist you in that regard. So all tender inquiries, technical, colleagues, administrative, must please be directed to the email address that is included in this bid document. From a scope of work perspective, colleagues, just a bit of background. Again, I'll read this section word for word. The University of UNIVEN is looking for a service provider to assist with the following: calculation of input and output VAT and the submission of VAT returns for 3 financial years to SARS. The calculation must be done twice a year, first one in June, with the final one to be completed by the end of January of the next financial year. The annual determination of the VAT apportionment rate to be applied by UNIVEN for the term of the contract in terms of the applicable SARS VAT ruling. The annual review of the input and output VAT per financial year based on the audited financial statements and the claiming of additional input VAT from SARS. Dealing with any SARS queries and audits relating to the above-mentioned submissions. Provide training to the university employees during the duration of the contract. Scope of work and deliverables to conduct the VAT review on the income and expense and determine the VAT payable or receivable. This would include assessment of systematic deficiencies and remedial actions and compensating controls. Reviewing the VAT coding of the cost centers in the ITS system. Colleagues, the university uses ITS as an ERP system. The VAT coding of the income and expense accounts. The assessment and coding of cost centers in line with applicable VAT rulings, the setup of the counter and cash book subsystems, the classification of taxable, exempt, and zero-rated supplies, review of the supply database to ensure compliance with the VAT Act, interpretation and application of the VAT ruling, the review of HR and payroll transactions to ensure compliance with the VAT Act in terms of fringe benefits, providing ongoing advice and updates on any VAT rulings related issues on the following but not limited to: contracts relating to the funding of specific projects, donations, grants, government grants and subsidies, supplies and other goods and services, review of research contracts and proposals, foreign donor funded projects, imported services rendered to the university, fringe benefits, the appropriate coding of research cost centers, open bracket, basic applied or contract research, close bracket, submission of the necessary computations and returns to SARS, following up with SARS with regards to claims and other admin matters, assist in the preparation of the required general entries to make adjustments to the general ledger, work with management to attend to any audit-related queries relating to the preparation of the annual financial statements, preparations of quarterly VAT compliance reports, train staff of the university on all aspects of the VAT for higher education institutions, to ensure that after the end of the 3-year period of the contract, they are able to run with VAT exercise independently. Preparation and submission of monthly VAT returns, preparation and submission of monthly VAT recons, both input and output, assist the university with any SARS verification audits, assist the university with the ITS setup for VAT, assist with any other data-related services, and then the university reserves the right to increase or decrease the scope of work. So, colleagues, I intentionally went through it line by line because the VET's, if I said the VET status of the university is critical. And such is the importance being placed on this bid document and this project, colleagues. So please, it's really a critical aspect, and we do plead with anyone who's going to submit proposals to do that with the intention of meeting all these requirements, especially for the term of the contract, so the university is left in a better position post this contract. So it's really something that goes through again through the finance department of the university. So again, I'm just emphasizing the criticality of this service. Colleagues, then page 5 is just documents, information that you'll sort of complete in terms of your organization. Page 6, which is point number 5, starts with mandatory submissions. Colleagues, these are mandatory documents, meaning that non-submission of these documents would lead to your bid not being considered. The first is that you need to submit a company registration certificate. You need to submit a valid SARS tax PIN. Signed JV agreement where applicable. This is only where applicable. Comprehensive company profile. Valid certified ID copies of all company directors within 3 months old from date of closure. Please note, colleagues, the timelines and the date we are emphasizing and saying within 3 months old from date of closure of this tender. Proof of business address. Fully initialed and completed all tender document pages. Bank account confirmation letter. Board resolution, certificate for authority for signature, proof of tender document purchase, audited financial statement within 12 months, 2019 and 2020, completion of the standard bidding forms, professional indemnity insurance document, 2 million, and tax practitioner from SAIPA or SAIT. Colleagues, these are mandatory requirements. Non-submission will lead to your bid not be considered. There are aspects where people take it for granted. For example, point number 7, where we're saying fully initialed and completed all tender document pages. Please make sure, colleagues, you initial each page. We don't want to obviously not consider your bid because of small administrative requirements such as these. I plead with you when you put together these documents to ensure that indeed all these are complied with, and you can move on to the next stage, which covers functionality, colleagues. And so forth. Page 8, going forward, is just standard bid clauses that you'll see in any tender facilitated through the investor vendor. The validity of the tender is 120 days. This is from date of closure. There's clauses around promotion of access to information, Protection of Personal Information Act, all the way down. The term of the contract, colleagues have indicated that it is 3 years. Terms and conditions of a tender, please go read, understand. I'm not obviously skipping these because they're not important, obviously because of the time permitted for the session, and we can't go through each clause, but I do plead with you to go through them. If you're not clear with any other clause, please ask us. Again, in terms of tender inquiries, please direct them to myself, copying UNIVEN tenders at univen.ac.za. So all these clauses, colleagues, are clear. Again, you will see on page 21, it speaks about a service fee that is payable to POCO SA. Just for those who've never worked with POCO SA before, note that POCO SA is actually owned by all 26 public universities in the country. They are the shareholders in the business, and they direct in terms of the strategy of the business. It's a non-profit organization, but of course, in terms of, if I can say, revenue generation, we work on a service model or a rebate model, where a minimum of 2% of your total bid price is payable to POCO SA. So please ensure that you factor in that 2% service fee. Of course, I can't dictate to you how you do it, but the issue that you must know that each and every invoice that you'll be sending to the university, 2% of that will be payable to POCO SA. For everybody's information. Again, the validity of the tender, 120 days and so forth. Then the evaluation process, colleagues, continues after the mandatory requirements. We go on to what we call a functionality stage of the tender, which is a point scoring system, and you need to reach a minimum threshold of 70% in order to proceed to the next stage of the tender. You will see again, it's point scoring. We'll be requesting company references that you need to provide. The sections are 40 points. Key personal expertise and qualification. You need to submit out of 25 points. This is qualification and years of experience. Contract methodology. Colleagues, we don't want any generic approach. Please make sure you apply your mind to this proposal for the investor vendor. And then proof of locality, again, we do ask it here. This just to ascertain where you are situated. In mandatory, we just ask for any proof of address, but in this case, we want to know where exactly you are located. So this section is out of 100 points. You need to score 70 points in order to proceed to the price and triple B stage of the tender. The last stage of evaluation, colleagues, will cover the price and triple BE. You'll see there's a price table included in this tender document where we're looking for the total cost per year for the entire assignment, including all direct and indirect incremental cost, incidental tariff increase as per CPI, substances, etc. So again, it's not the most nicest of pricing tables, but colleagues, we urge you to please complete this pricing table in this bid document for obviously the pricing aspect of this tender. Then colleagues, the rest of the document is just general clauses that you can go and read, speaking about conflicts of interest, sworn statement, and so forth. What you should do when you buy the tender document, you should also get an SPD4 form that is also included in this tender that you need to complete. You will see that part of the mandatory requirements of the tender requires you to submit that SPD4 form as well. At this stage, colleagues, that is the bid document. I have stated again that the bid document is still available after this session. Everything is online, colleagues. You do purchase it online, and it will be available until the closing date and time. Of course, do not wait for the last minute to buy the document because you need ample time to be able to put together your submission documents and submit a comprehensive bid. From our side, we obviously not I will say in every briefing session that I don't like to reject bidders at any stage of the tender. I would like that everybody who submits a proposal at least gets to the pricing stage of the tender where we can really compare the competitiveness of your offer. So in short, I'm saying, take your time to put together the documentation and ensure that you do submit a comprehensive bid. What I will do now is just open the floor for any questions that colleagues may have regarding this bid. Obviously, if we can answer the questions, we will. If we can't, we'll obviously note the question and come back with the response. We'll follow a process of raising your hand if you've got a question, and then after that, we'll acknowledge you. And then we can obviously take your question and attempt to answer your question that may come. Colleagues, the question and answer phase is officially open. Opani, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Tebo and the leader. Good morning to the leader. I've heard you were saying, presenting the functionality. I just want to add to say the bidder must contain at least 70% score so that they can pass to the next stage. That is what I've noticed that you didn't include on your presentation. And another thing to say, the tender document is also available on our website, the very, very same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Opani. Colleagues, what Opani is obviously referring to is what's also on screen. If you look at your functionality, there is a threshold that's included there of 70% in order to proceed to the next stage of the tender. So please note that in terms of the functionality stage of the tender. Secondly, just to add, correct, the bid is available also on the investor vendor website, but note that there is a tender fee, and that process can only be obtained via the approved channels of the Pergose website. So it's just to share with you the criteria if you want to see, but note that part of the mandatory requirements is that the bid is purchasable via the Pergose database. Open, I think this is a legacy hand, or you want to add more?
No, it was a legacy hand.
All right. Colleagues, any questions that bidders may have? Please raise your hand and then we'll take your questions accordingly. Just while you guys are thinking about it, I'm noting Dimpo's question. Yes, it is Dimpo. So the document is it's mandatory that you purchase the document. So if you do submit the tender document without being purchased, your bid will not be considered. Cliff Watson, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. I would just like to confirm a bit of the scope because it's a bit unclear. In clause 2, it says that there's a calculation of input and output tax for the 3 financial years, and it must be done twice a year, first in June and then in January. But later on, it talks about monthly VAT submissions. Now, is that do we need to then assist with the monthly VAT submissions, or is it just a review? Because if you look at paragraph 3, it says the scope is as follows: conduct a VAT review on the income and expenses to determine the VAT payable. This would include. So based on 3, one would assume that it's a review on the monthly VAT submissions. So just some clarity on that, please. Sorry,
Thanks, Cliff.
just from I would say, but from 3.12 onwards, it's a bit unclear if it's a review on that, or do you need to provide that as well? And that's just confirmation that I need.
Thanks, Cliff. Noted. Open that. I'm not sure if the end user is here.
Tsepo, I will check, but she was invited.
I'm here.
She's here, go Director Majid.
Yes.
Okay,
Do you want
thank
to
you.
take this, Director?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tsepo. Yeah, with regard to whether is it a review or it also includes the issue of the returns, the answer is yes. Is both. It's actually the monthly process that needs to happen, and also the review. And I think in terms of the review, the spec is clear in terms of the areas that needs to be reviewed, which include also the cost centers, the account structures, and all those type of things. So it's both the exercise. Thanks.
Thank you, Director.
Sorry, if I can just then continue with, because now it's a bit clear in the sense that obviously if one has to do the monthly VAT returns, you need to know about what the coding is. So, and all the cost centers that you need to review, and then also the supplier database. If we can just get clarification on whether the review of those cost centers has to be done prior to submitting the first VAT return. Because, yeah, if you submit the first VAT return without reviewing the necessary information, your first VAT return would not be done properly. So, yeah, when is the first VAT return required? And when is the tender starting? You know, when is the first time that one can start with the review process prior to submitting that first return?
Director, you want to come in?
Okay, thank you very much. I think in terms of whether the process will be to review the cost center structures and the rest of what is in the ITS, that should also form part of your methodology. But in terms of the submissions, we are required to submit the output returns on a monthly basis. So that is immediate, the output VAT. But I think from the exercise of reviewing, if there are any issues that needs to be corrected from the return that will have been submitted, that should also form part of the submission for the future months. But basically, the output VAT is actually something that needs to happen immediately. But with the input, it can be done after the whole exercise has been done. Thanks, Chair.
All right, thanks, Director. Cliff, you covered?
Yeah, sorry, just if there's anyone else that can also want to ask a question, because I've got quite a few questions. So yeah, I don't want to, just do all my questions and everyone's waiting for me to finish.
No, proceed, because I think you're the only one with the hands up.
Okay, just in terms of the review after the first year, because obviously this is now a tender for 3 years. So if it's reviewed after year 1, and it is then decided not to continue, well, what's the, because it says because of performance, it doesn't say anything about, is this a fixed contract for 3 years and it's only, terminated if it's gross negligence or something like that? What's the thought process behind that?
Mm. Yeah, Cliff. So I can respond to that. So obviously, all of these things will also be tightened up in the SLA. But like any other contract, if the performance is not satisfactory, the university reserves the right to terminate. It is a 3-year contract. But of course, reviewed annually, and if the performance is not up to scratch, then, all the cancellation clauses as per the SLA will be applied.
Okay. And then the increase and the decrease of the scope. I mean, obviously, we would then quote a specific amount for what we determine the services would be. If it's now suddenly increased, obviously, we haven't quoted for that. Are we then allowed to increase our quote based on the increase of or the decrease of the scope?
Yeah, again, definitely. So in the case where there is an increase of scope, it's a matter of discussing then with the awarded bidder what are the, conditions of that. For now, you quote based on the scope now, but like with any other bid, you'd have that clause that speaks about increase and decrease of scope. Should it arise? It's not say it's should it arise.
And then the ITS setup and data related services. Obviously, that can be quite substantial. We don't know what the quantum of that's going to be. But yeah, well, what do we know more or less what the requirements are? To extract data, that's and do data analytics, that's one thing. But if it's ITS setup, obviously we can just provide guidance and not physical IT related work, because it's more from a tax perspective and not an IT perspective.
Yeah, I'm sure the director will come in here. For me, it's more just understanding of the system, from a VAT and tax perspective. But director, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, in terms of the data, I think depending on the information that you will require, then we are able to extract the data for you to do the analysis. Thanks.
All right, let me take Janelle. Your hand is up.
Hi, Chair. It's actually Cedric with Janelle. Just wanted to find out something. The bid is kind of looking like it's asking for a fixed price, but I think there are so many variables that are dependent maybe on the university. For example, as Cliff has mentioned, the time will need maybe from feedback from you to get the data, prepare it, and be able to prepare the necessary schedules. And also, if you look at point 3.10, there's sort of ad hoc work. So how can we quote on a fixed price when exactly we don't know what work you will be able. For example, if our submission is selected for audit. So I just need clarity on whether it's a fixed bid price, and won't we be comparing different things, apples to oranges? Because if I quote a rate for the people who are going to do it and they can do it in an hour, and someone says he can do it in 30 minutes, but their rate is higher than mine, and end up spending more than during the SLA. So, but when we were bidding, we were comparing apples and oranges.
From my side, Solomon, I forgot your name. I just noted that Janelle. Look, you are still able to compare like for like from a bidding process, because obviously, I mean, if you do it in 30 minutes, somebody does it in an hour. I mean, that's I don't know, speaking to their competence levels, or maybe they just have a lot more support. So the comparison is there. And the issue of the ad hoc services, I think I mean, if you're in the sector, you must just look at how generally what goes into these aspects. So we put into you to put that pricing in terms of everything we've put here. In the same breath, if the issues that start to creep post-award, those are things that obviously, when we discuss the SLA, we'll have to look at. But at this point now, I think we're confident in terms of the scope of work and what we've put here, and also your expertise in the sector. You should be able to give us a pricing that at least we can compare for the tender. Okay, Janelle, your hand is still up. Or is it Cedric?
Okay, we'll lower it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, it's 10:30. Cliff, let's take you again, guys, on the last round of questions, colleagues.
Okay, do we have an indication of the amount of cost codes and the amount of suppliers? I mean, if we have to review the supplier database and there's like 1 million suppliers against what we expect, maybe 100, there's a huge difference. So if we can just have a general indication of the amount of cost codes and then also suppliers.
Opani, I'm sure we can get that from especially the suppliers on the database and the cost centers. Or maybe even the director might have an answer.
Yeah, I think we can be able to get that information, but it's not readily available now. Thanks.
Okay.
When would we be able to get that? Because obviously it will affect our quote. Should we send an email to you, Sepo?
Yeah, I think we'll probably just discuss after with the colleagues how quickly they can get that information. What we'll do from our side is once we get it, we'll probably just upload it on our website. Because I mean it's a non-compulsory session, so we don't have all your email addresses. So we'll use that mechanism of loading on the website so that you can get it. So please just keep checking the site. But hopefully we should get it quickly. Opani, unless you've got an answer for that?
Yes, I think the best way is to upload them from your website, and we also upload it from our website as well, so that BIDA can see them. So as soon as we get them, we will upload them.
Yeah, supported. Supported. All right, colleagues, any last round of questions while I look at the chat? Tabo, good morning, team. I guess the review and recovery doesn't have any problem. It depends on the methodology that you can use. You can review the 3 years and complete, and it will be after the completion where you amend the prior submitted review. Okay, I think you're just assisting us here. Why is it compulsory to pay for the document if it could be downloaded? Yeah, so Tabo, it's just a process in terms of how the tenders are run. You can download it, obviously, to review the criteria. So we're saying, look, have a look at it in terms of, do you comply with all those aspects before you spend the participation fee? But unfortunately, it's a policy of the organization that the bid documents must be obtainable at a fee. Again, we do all that cross-checking in terms of payment. Colleagues, I'm not seeing any more hands. Director, I don't know if there's any last words from your side, and Opani, before we proceed to close.
From my side, nothing much more to say. Unless this one said to say the bidder must keep on checking from your website and our website regarding the addendum or the data that will be made available to them.
Thank you, Opani. Director?
Thanks, Tepo. I don't have anything to say. I think we have covered all the areas that we were supposed to cover during this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director and Opani. Colleagues, from my side is again to wish you the best of luck. Again, two things. One, I do plead you to go and access our websites in terms of, again, making sure that you're familiar with the process of submission. It's an online submission using the PerkSA portal, not a physical submission. The link is in the bid document itself. And of course, I do emphasize the fact that even though you do have access to the bid document and the link, you do need to still pay for the bid document in order to be considered. Secondly, is to say, please, all tender inquiries must still flow through the PerkSA office through myself. My email address is in the bid document, including copying the designated university vendor email. Please don't contact anybody else at the university. It must flow through the PerkSA office. And obviously, any responses that we do give will be in collaboration with the university in itself. But from a control and a process perspective, tender inquiries must please flow through the PerkSA office. Having said that, I'd like to thank you all for your time. Again, wish you the best of luck. I do hope to receive as many submissions as possible so that we can get the most competitive bid to be awarded for this project. Enjoy the rest of your day, and colleagues, again, good luck for your submission. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.